Ian is fascinated with what it means to be well and is currently studying his MSc Master's degree in Applied Positive Psychology at universities in Paris and Cambridge. Please give a huge round of applause for our next speaker, Ian. Come on!
Has anyone got a light? Anyone? Cheers. If I'd have done this 60 years ago, nobody would have batted an eyelid. And that's because 60 years ago, despite thousands of peer-reviewed academic papers proving the link between smoking and lung cancer, there was no official advice that smoking was bad. There were no warnings on the sides of packets of cigarettes that said smoking kills. I bought this on my way in today. It's something I used to drink quite a lot of. Just by show of hands, who's ever drunk Coke before? Yeah, quite a lot of us. And Mazum, what did you like drinking Coke? What did you like about drinking Coke? Yep.
It went well with pizza.
Went well with pizza. Very good. And what about you, Madam? I think you had your hand up. What did you like drinking about Coke?
Quite sweet.
Quite sweet. Tastes nice. Goes well with pizza. And sir, did you have your hand up there? Yes, you.
I would drink it because I didn't drink alcohol and it used to get me hyperactive, so I could at least imitate my friends.
Right, okay, good. So it goes well with pizza, tastes nice, makes us feel good, makes us hyperactive, substitute for alcohol. So I'm just going to give this to you, sir, and I want you to have a quick look at the label and see if you can work out how many grams of sugar there are in that bottle of Coke. And pass it around the audience and we'll see if we can get it around everybody before I finish speaking, and we'll come back to that later. Before we come back to that though, I want to tell you a story. And the story starts on a day that changed my brother Marcus's life and my family's life forever. And it's the day that we went to see the doctor and Marcus was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumour, a primary malignant cancer. And the doctor said, there's nothing we can do. Just imagine what that must have felt like, being 37 years old and told that you're going to die. But Marcus wasn't giving up without a fight, and he did a lot of research into alternative and complementary therapies, stuff he could do to try and live as long as possible. And one of the biggest changes that he made was his diet. He cut out all the sugars and the fats and the oils, and he ate whole food. And even though Marcus was dying, when he changed his diet, he came alive in front of us. And sadly, about a year after that, Marcus passed away. And it was a devastating moment for everybody. It changed our lives forever. But we like to think that the changes Marcus made brought him some extra weeks, maybe even months of life. So why am I telling you about Marcus? Well, after Marcus passed, I was at the doctor myself. And the doctor was telling me I had all of these abnormal, out-of-range blood test results. I had 23 red flags for killer chronic diseases. And like all good doctors, she started writing me a prescription. But as soon as she told me, I knew exactly what I was going to do. It wasn't the pills, but it was to change what I put at the end of my fork, like Marcus did. Who's ever tried a diet and not stuck to it for as long as they wanted to? Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's really hard, changing a habit of a lifetime. So I knew I had to do this properly, and I set a date that I was going to start this diet. I cleared all the junk food out of my house, all the chocolate, all the crisps. It was delicious. And I got to the first day, and the diet I was going to do was a whole food, plant-based diet. So I could eat vegetables and fruits, nuts and seeds, whole grains, legumes. Anything from a produce aisle in a supermarket, but virtually nothing else. Had to be minimally processed food. Cut out all the fats and the sugars and the oils. And I got to the first day and I had my first meal as a pile of vegetables. Looked nothing like what I used to eat. Nothing like the burger and the chips washed down with a bottle of Coke. And ironically, it was the most natural food and it seemed so alien to me. So I had my first meal and it was all right. It was better than I thought. And I went to bed and then I got up. 3 o'clock in the morning. I was confused, I had a headache, I was starving hungry. I couldn't get back to sleep. I was late for work, I forgot to take my specially prepared whole food plant-based lunch with me. I couldn't eat all day, I was starving hungry. I came home and I thought, I can't do this. It's too difficult. And I was ready to quit there and then. And I was sat at home that night, flicking through some papers, and I came across a note from Marcus's research, and it talked about the whole food having a lower calorie density. And I thought, was it as simple as this? Did I just need to eat more of it? So I went back to the kitchen and I cooked a bigger dinner, more complex carbohydrates, more potato and root vegetable. And I had dinner that night. I went to bed and I slept through the night. And I got up and I went to work and I got back and I thought, I can do this. I can get through 24 hours, I can get through 2 weeks. So I got to the second week and that's when the devil was on my shoulder. I was thinking about ways to bend the rules and cheat. A Mars bar once every now and again wouldn't matter. And then on the last day of the second week, something amazing happened. I woke up that morning and my mood had lifted. I felt more relaxed. I'd lost a little bit of weight. I thought this diet's working. And that gave me enough motivation to decide I was going to stick with this diet 100%. No bending the rules, no cheating, 100% whole food plant-based diet. And sure enough, every week the benefits kept rolling in. I started losing more and more weight. I felt healthier and healthier. And the weeks rolled into months and months, and now still today, I eat a whole food plant-based diet. So I went to the doctor, and she tested all my bloods again. And I was watching her, and she was looking at the computer, and she looked at me, and she said, I don't know how you've done this. I don't know what's happened, but every single one of the 23 out-of-range blood test results has gone back to normal. And let's just think about that for a second. After decades of punishing my body 3 times a day with fatty, oily, sugary processed foods, over just 6 months, my body healed itself. So I thought this deserved a treat, and I went out to a restaurant and I was tucking into the most delicious chocolate cake I'd ever eaten. And I thought, this is all right. Every 6 months, maybe just every month, maybe just every... And then I realised there's one more just. It's just the beginning of the slippery slope that got me to where I was 6 months ago. And in fact, I didn't need this junk food in my life. Yeah, sure, it tastes good, it goes well with pizza. It's a good substitute for alcohol, but it's a bit like a drug. It's a quick fix at the expense of long-term health and happiness. So who's got the bottle of Coke? Where did it get to? Right at the back. Did anyone manage to work out how many grams of sugar? It's a bit of a trick question because you're not told how many grams on the label. You have to multiply it by 2. Any volunteers to guess how many grams of sugar in the bottle of Coke? 54 was that? Did you say? Yeah. Yep, brilliant, well done, 54 grams of sugar. So 54 grams of sugar. I used to drink 2 of those every single day. There's no question in my mind, if I'd have carried on drinking what I was drinking and eating what I was eating, I would have developed some kind of chronic disease. It would have made me miserable and it would have shortened my life. And the thing I always remember is how hard Marcus fought for just those extra days and weeks of life. And here was I, being so blasé about years, maybe decades of life that I was wasting away eating what I was eating. You know, 60 years ago, if I'd have sparked up this fag in front of a room full of people, nobody would have cared. Today, there are thousands of peer-reviewed academic papers proving the link between our fatty, oily, processed, sugary Western foods and the rising rates of chronic killer diseases. Stand up for me if you think eating more whole food and less processed food sounds like a good idea. Have a look around. We all know eating processed food is bad. Do we really want to wait for government health warnings on the sides of packets of food saying sugar kills before we do this to our processed food diets? Thank you very much.